Good morning to all of you. A warm welcome to this special webinar on vaccination drive, myths and facts about the vaccination. And in order to address this, I know you have plenty of questions. In order to address all your queries, doubts, clarification, we have an eminent personality who worked extensively in this vaccination drive, starting from vaccination trial and then getting the vaccines, then doing all this vaccination drive. Here, Dr. Praveen Kulkarni, he is from Department of Community Medicine and Public Health from JSS Medical College. A warm welcome to you, sir, on behalf of University of Mysore, Department of Studies in Zoology and Department of Studies in Genetics and Genomics. And as usual, we have a special guest to grace this occasion. Professor Shyam Sundar sir is here, and he's instrumental to get all these eminent personalities to give special talk to address to you people. And from University of Mysore, Department of Studies in Zoology and Department of Studies in Genetics and Genomics, a warm welcome to you, sir. I welcome Dr. Vidisha to moderate and to interact with people. And I welcome all of you, all the participants and ICD people, technical people who are helping us to conduct this webinar series successfully. And let me take a pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Dr. Kulkarni. He is a very dynamic personality, as I told by all senior professors, and very active, very jovial. And he's associate professor in the Department of Community Medicine and Public Health. And he's a fellow of Foundation for Advancement in International Medical Education and Research and alumni of Leadership and Management Program offered by INCLEN Trust and IIHMR New Delhi. He has also undergone advanced courses in medical education by St. Joseph Medical College, Bangalore. He conducts regular workshops on research methodology and biostatistics, medical humanities, faculty development in education technologies, etc., within and outside the institution. He has received several research grants from Government of Karnataka, Government of India, Indian Council of Medical Research, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He has been recipient of Young Scientist Award from Karnataka Association of Community Health, Best Reviewer Award from Association for Physician of India Karnataka Chapter, Best Teacher Award from JSS Academy, and Best Teacher from the Physiotherapy. And he got a gold medal in NPTEL course on health research fundamentals jointly organized by ICMR and IIT Kharagpur. He is an associate editor of International Journal of Health and Allied Sciences and editorial board member of APIK Journal of Medicine. And he has got more than 75 publications, both in national as well as international, highly indexed peer-reviewed journal. Sir, with this brief biodata, I don't take much time because students and parents, they want to interact with you after your talk. So on behalf of everyone, once again, a warm welcome to you, sir. And over to you, sir. Please take the session.
Share the slides. A very good morning to everyone. At the outset, I would like to thank Malini ma'am for having me here, and also Shyam Sundar sir for giving me an opportunity to be with all of you. And this is a great honor and pleasure to me to be in the campus of the Mysore University and giving talk on the area where I'm currently working is COVID-19 vaccination. There are many myths and facts associated with the COVID-19 vaccines. So let us discuss each one of them in more detailed manner. So let me start by few components, how exactly the vaccines are developed and what is the difference in developing other vaccines and how COVID-19 vaccine is developed. If you just see this particular image, it says that when you want to develop a particular vaccine, it takes a long time. Some vaccines come out after this tedious process and some vaccines do not come. If you look at the typical vaccine development process in the left-hand side and how COVID-19 vaccines are developed on right-hand side, the entire process was done in such a meticulous and faster way that we could get vaccine in a short span of 1 year after the pandemic has started. Otherwise, if it is a regular vaccine, it takes a decade. But this expedited process of vaccine development that has helped us in getting the vaccine in a short span of time without compromising the quality at any point in time. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, if you look at this particular chart, it shows recent pandemics as well as epidemics where the vaccine generation process took. If you look at polio vaccine, it all started, the actual polio was found out in 1700s and the vaccine came into picture only after 200 years. And if you look at MERS, the process of vaccine development is still taking place, but we are not in a position to get actual vaccine so far. And if you look at SARS-CoV-1, which was started in 2002, and we are still not in a position to get the vaccine. Please be thankful to all the scientists in the world who have put their heart and soul in bringing a vaccine in a span of 12 to 18 months without compromising the quality. The basic reason why I'm showing this particular slide is, even though a lot of efforts will go in developing the vaccine, some for decades together, years together, centuries together, the vaccine may not come to the actual reality. But we are so fortunate that we have the vaccine for COVID, which has been developed in a very short span of time. Shall we go to the next slide, please? Pointer is there, I think it would be better. Yeah. So this is the timeline of COVID-19 vaccine development, which is quite unprecedented. All of us know in November 2019, the few cases of COVID were being reported, respiratory infection were being reported in China. And they called it as a COVID, a viral infection. And later on in January, the Chinese researchers, revealed the draft genome of the virus, and they called this particular virus as COVID. And the sequencing of the virus was taken place in January to February. The first SARS-CoV-19 clinical trial in animals began in just a span of 3 months, that is in the month of March 2020. And Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which entered into phase 2 and 3 clinical trial in May 2020. The same vaccine in India, we call it as Covishield, that entered into the trial phase in India in the month of August 2020. And August and September, it was phase 2 part of the study. And in the end of September, Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, or the Covishield vaccine in India, entered into phase 3. And meanwhile, the Bharat Biotech's Covaxin also entered into phase 2 in the month of September. And later on, it entered into phase 3 in the month of October. And, as all of us know, by January, we had received, by January 3rd, 2021, we had 2 vaccines which were approved by the government of India for emergency use approval. And now we have 3 vaccines in India currently, about which I am going to talk in future slides. Next slide. Yeah, so you may be thinking how exactly so many vaccines are being developed across the country. If across the world, there are totally 184 candidate vaccines which are in preclinical trial of the COVID-19 vaccination process. They are in animal studies, they are in cell line studies, and more or less 10 to 12% of these vaccines in future may enter into the clinical phase. There are 35 vaccines in phase 1, and there are 36 vaccines in phase 3, and 25 vaccines are in 36 in phase 2 and 25 in phase 3. And currently there are 15 vaccines currently in use in different parts of the world. And there are 5 vaccines which have been extensively used across the world, and they are in the process of post-marketing surveillance. We call it as phase 4. Shall we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So how exactly the vaccine for COVID-19 acts? There are various methods on the basis of which vaccines are developed. So all of you know the COVID-19 virus has got spikes on it. So this is a very fancy way of looking at that particular virus. It has multiple spikes on it. The basic use of this spike is the virus will come and it will put its spike on the cell, and the spike acts as the place of interaction between virus as well as the human cell, and through spike the virus penetrates into the cell. And once it enters into the cell, I think all of you know there is going to be recombination, there is going to be development of multiplication of virus in an enormous way. But what happens is, how the vaccines are basically developed are, they are targeting this spike. And if our cell has got antibodies against this spike with which the virus will come and sit on the cell and penetrates, if the antibodies, if the process is such that the moment virus comes and sits on the cell, if the spike itself is destroyed. When the spike is destroyed, the virus cannot enter into the cell and the multiplication will not take place. This is the simplest way in which we can explain the process of vaccine development. So I think I'm clear in my point. Okay. So most of the vaccines, they target this spike protein. It could be a whole genome vaccine, or it could be only against that particular spike protein, or they take the spike protein and they give it as a subunit, and we call it as protein subunit vaccines. All these vaccines, which are all available, they target any of these mechanisms. Either they give protein subunit vaccine, or they give virions, what we call as virus-like particles. We have some DNA-based vaccines. We have some RNA-based vaccines. You might have heard about Pfizer and Moderna. These are mRNA-based vaccines. We call it as messenger RNA. And that messenger RNA, which carries the message of genetic sequence related to the virus, will enter into the cell, goes to ribosomes, and it develops the protein and related to the particular virus, against that particular virus, and then there is going to be the development of antibodies. We have non-replicating viral vector vaccine. For example, we have Covishield, we have Oxford AstraZeneca. These are non-replicating. We call it as replication deficient virus. Okay, so replication deficient virus, we call it's called ChAdOx because there is a chimpanzee adenovirus which is replication deficient, on which the spike-like protein is put and it is transferred into the cells. So most of the vaccines which currently are available, they are inactivated vaccines or they are killed vaccines. Okay, so this is the way in which the vaccines act. Shall we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So this is how various vaccines currently available, protein subunit vaccines, which are relatively easy to develop. We have plenty of protein subunit vaccines which are available, which are being tried and tested. And we have some other vaccine platforms also being used. And currently we have large number of protein subunit vaccines, which are under various process of trial. Next slide, please. Okay, these are approved vaccines. I will not read all of them, so you can just have a look at it. So the ones which are required for us, that we will be I'll be highlighting more or less in my future slides. Shall we go to the next slide? It has our own Covaxin, and we have Oxford AstraZeneca, we have Pfizer, we have Covishield. So that is manufactured by the Serum Institute of India. You can see Sinovac. Sinovac is again in news now. Sinopharm, these are two Chinese vaccines which are currently being extensively used. Next slide, please. Okay, so a lot of people will have this question. People come to me and ask, so how exactly, what are different phases? A lot of people say phase 1 trial, phase 2 trial, phase 3 trial. What exactly is the meaning? What is done in these phase 1, 2, 3 trial? Usually, there are actually 5 phases of vaccine trial. Phase 0 is also called as animal studies. When the vaccine is developed, first the vaccine is introduced into the animals and they test how the animals act against that particular vaccine. Okay, after it clears animal trials, animal studies, it enters into phase 1 trial, where around 20 to 100 healthy volunteers, they are going to get the vaccine at different doses and also at different intervals. And the basic reason, what is the basic reason for phase 1 is to check whether the vaccine is safe or not. If the vaccine is not safe in phase 1, it will not enter into phase 2. Please remember, phase 1 is for 2 reasons. Number 1, dose fixation, schedule fixation, as well as for safety. And after it clears phase 1, vaccine enters into phase 2, where several hundreds of volunteers are going to receive the vaccine. Commonly, we recruit around 100 to 200 participants in phase 2 and extensively study the safety part of the vaccine. If in initial phase 1, it is only in few individuals, and in phase 2, we basically give it to hundreds of individuals and check whether the vaccine is safe and early evidence of antibody generation. And then the vaccine enters into phase 3, where thousands of people are going to get the vaccine. If you look at Oxford AstraZeneca, it has recruited 36,000 participants across 4 different countries. And if you look at Covaxin, which is developed in India, it recruited more than 30,000 people across different parts of the country in phase 3. And basic reason for phase 3 is to check again the safety and, more importantly, the immunogenicity. That is, whether the vaccine is producing antibodies or not. And the efficacy of any vaccine is determined after the phase 3. You may be hearing, Covishield is this much efficacious, Covaxin is this much efficacious, Sputnik is this much efficacious. From where that data comes, it all comes through the early, late phase 2 and early part of phase 3. And once the phase 3 is done, we are having ample of information about the safety of the vaccine as well as the immunogenicity, and then vaccine will go for approval process. In current scenario, where there was lot of need to come with a vaccine, then the government of India went for what is called as emergency use authorization. Emergency use authorization is given after the recruitment for phase 3 gets over, ideally, and also you have some information about the immunogenicity. Based on this data, emergency use authorization was given to the vaccines, and currently the 2 vaccines, which are Covishield and Covaxin, they have almost completed their phase 3 and now they are entering into phase 4. What is phase 4? Once a vaccine is approved, when it is there in the market, then not hundreds or thousands, then lakhs and crores of people will take the vaccine. We call it as post-marketing surveillance. After the people take the vaccine, what is going to be the reaction, how people react to the vaccine, whether vaccine is actually preventing occurrence of disease or not. That is all being studied in phase 4 part of the vaccine trial. So what determines the efficacy or effectiveness of a vaccine? Number one, all of us expect if I take the vaccine, I should not get infected. That is what is most of us think. But that is not the only criteria to decide whether vaccine is effective or not. Number one, ideally, it should prevent infection. If it is not preventing infection, let the infection occur, but let it be asymptomatic. Let me not develop any symptom related to it. And even if I develop the symptoms also, okay, I should not get hospitalized. And if I get hospitalized also, I should not go for ventilator support. And if I get ventilator support also, the person should not die. So all these factors determine the efficacy of a vaccine. It is not only prevention of infection. Even if you take COVID-19 vaccine, you may develop infection. But our intention is to prevent the future things, preventing the hospitalization, preventing oxygen supplementation, preventing what we call ventilator support, and finally preventing death. These are the 4 criteria on which all vaccines are being advertised, advocated, so that people utilize them in more effective manner. So this is the historic day in the Indian, this is a historic day in all of our lives, where on 3rd of January, the DCGI chair has given permission to utilize 2 vaccines, that is Covishield, which is same as Oxford AstraZeneca, and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, which is a vaccine of Indian soil, to bring to get emergency use approval. And later on 12th of April 2021, 3 months later, so Russian vaccine, we call it as Sputnik V, has received emergency use authorization. So in my future presentation, I'll be talking about only these 3 vaccines which have received emergency use approval. One is Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, second is Serum Institute's Covishield, and third is Sputnik's, we call Russian vaccine from Reddy's laboratory. We call it as Sputnik V. First, let us see about Covaxin. Covaxin is developed in Indian soil. It is our own vaccine, so we should all be really proud of Covaxin. Covaxin was developed by the splendid efforts of the scientists of ICMR, NIV Pune, and later on it was taken up by the Bharat Biotech, a pharma company in India, and they are the one who are manufacturing this particular vaccine. It is a whole virion inactivated coronavirus vaccine. It is given intramuscularly as 2 doses, 4 to 6 weeks apart. And it is stored at temperature 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And phase 3 trials, the papers are already submitted, and they say it is around 78% efficacious. And we are waiting for the final paper to get published. But the paper is currently pre-published. Paper is already available in the public domain. And it is also considered to be effective against multiple variants of the vaccine, of the virus. Second most commonly taken vaccine, a lot of people took Covishield. So many among you who are listening to me would have taken Covishield vaccine. It is Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. The Serum Institute of India took the license from Oxford AstraZeneca, and they manufactured this vaccine in India from August 2020 onwards. And then the trials have started in August, and trials got over, the recruitment got over in the month of October, and everyone received the second dose of vaccine by November. And now we are waiting for the actual papers to come out, and the Western studies show the efficacy to the extent of 76%. It is again given as 2 doses, 85 days apart as per current government recommendations, but initially started with 4 weeks, then made 6 weeks, then currently it is being given on 85th day. I will also try to touch why this was done. And currently it is approved by 141 countries across the world. Sputnik is a heterologous recombinant adenovirus vector vaccine. I think few among you might have taken it. And it is actually a Russian vaccine. And in India, Reddy's laboratories are developing it. Phase 3 trial showed efficacy of 91.6%, quite a very efficacious vaccine among the currently available vaccines. And it is stored at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius in dry form and given intramuscularly, 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. And 67 countries have given emergency use authorization for this particular vaccine. Let us now, the topic given to me is vaccine drive in India. So how exactly the rollout happened? I told repeatedly, 3rd Jan, emergency use authorization came. Frontline health workers started getting vaccine from 16 Jan. The Honorable Prime Minister of India openly came and congratulated all the scientists who worked in this particular vaccine drive, and he motivated people to take vaccine. Frontline health workers started taking vaccine from 16 Jan 2021. From 1st March, the vaccine was made available to elderly, that is 60 plus, and later, and also 45 years plus with any one comorbidity. And from April 1st, vaccine was given to 45 plus all individuals, irrespective of whether having morbidity or no comorbidities or not. And later, 18 plus started getting vaccine from May 1. Though the vaccine drive for 18 plus had a lot of challenges in the current scenario, considering the demand and supply gap, but still we are able to provide vaccine to the people. This is the latest data from yesterday's dashboard. Currently, these many people across the country have received the vaccine. Okay, so first dose is given to almost 29 crore people, and second dose is given to that. Almost 30 crore people have 34 crore people have received the vaccine. And in a country like India, this is something which is a big achievement. Okay, if you look at top performing states, depends on many factors. Don't worry, the Karnataka is not there in it. We will definitely come into it very soon, because the way in which the vaccination drives are taking place in Karnataka, it's really giving a great hope that we will also achieve to this. We'll also make our position in top 10. And this is something which is very important. 29% of our population is covered with some sort of a vaccination, either first dose or second dose or both the doses. Now let us check who should not receive this vaccine. Number one, if there is any contraindication, if there is any anaphylaxis reaction, we call it as serious allergic reaction following first dose of vaccine or any other vaccine for that matter. If the people have got very serious allergy or anaphylaxis to the injectable therapies, I take injection and there is some sort of a reaction to me immediately, like I'll develop breathlessness, unconsciousness, my pulse rate will fall down, my hands and legs will become calm and cool following vaccination, the blood pressure drops. In such people, we do not recommend to take the vaccine because they are hyper reactive to one or the other constituent or component of the vaccines. So if you look at the adverse events associated, I will touch upon the myths and misconceptions in future, but this is the fact. Most of the people who take vaccines will develop the local adverse events like pain in the injection site. There can be, swelling, tenderness, and more people will develop, some people will develop headache, fatigue, myalgia, that is muscle pain, malaise, pyrexia is nothing but fever, and chills, arthralgia, the joint pain, nausea. And Covaxin, compared to Covishield, Covaxin adverse events are a bit less. Okay, but please remember, you have all vaccinated your children. We give Pentavac to all the children. They don't know they are getting vaccinated. We take them to the hospital and we vaccinate them, and they cry. The reason is you have accepted that if I vaccinate my children, my child is going to cry. And if you are determined to give the vaccination to the child, knowing that the child is going to cry, then what is the problem in taking vaccine yourself? And the child may be having all these problems which are mentioned there. Child cannot talk and tell. If the child would have had an ability to talk, it would have had a press conference and told to the people, don't take this vaccine, I develop all these adverse events. This is something which is an accepted fact and we should accept it. And all these reactions will occur because of seroconversion. When the vaccine is introduced, our body is not aware that there is something called as COVID-19 virus. You are introducing virus into the body and the body acts against it. And this is the natural reaction. And if this reaction doesn't occur, it doesn't mean that you have not developed antibodies, you have not developed the protection. Your immune system, your ability to tolerate the virus is better compared to others. That's why you are not developing these symptoms. So why we should take the vaccine? Number one, it prevents infection. Number two, it reduces severity of disease. Lot of people who are sitting listening to me, you will definitely appreciate, you would have read in the newspapers. The problem with our generation is we do not read something good. We always are worried about reading something which causes disturbance. Okay, so point is, if you take 100 individuals who are vaccinated and develop COVID, and 100 individuals who are not vaccinated develop COVID, among 100 individuals who are vaccinated and who develop COVID, hardly 0.001% person may die. But on the other hand, if you have not taken vaccine, it is almost 2 to 3%. So keep that thing in mind whenever we are taking the vaccine. So please take the vaccine. And it reduces probability of hospitalization, and also it reduces the chances of death. And more importantly, the vaccine protects you and your community from COVID-19 infection and disease. It acts as a shield to protect us from the disease as well as infection. And this is the evidence I was talking to you about. Among the people who receive the vaccine, the positivity rate is very, very low. It is around 0.04 and 0.03%. I'm not comparing the vaccines here. It is from ICMR. It is just to give you an idea about after you take the vaccine, the chances of developing infection will tremendously come down compared to your counterparts who did not take the vaccine. So let us now touch upon few myths and misconceptions related to COVID-19. I think I'll be answering most of your queries related to COVID-19 vaccine in my future slides. Number one, COVID-19 vaccine is unsafe because it is developed so fast. A lot of people came, sir, you tell 20 years are required to develop a vaccine and you are telling in 1 year people have developed this vaccine. How safe it is? I want to make it very, very clear, whatever procedures or whatever methodologies to be followed in developing vaccine in 20 years, the same meticulousness has been followed without compromising quality to a 0.001% also while developing this vaccine. Don't have this idea in your mind, develop quickly, so it is unsafe. It is developed very meticulously. So this is a myth. We have to burst this myth. And second, this is the most common thing I'm hearing nowadays. If I take vaccine, I will develop infertility. It causes impotency. So it is, I don't know who are the people who spread these kind of messages. There is absolutely nothing in this virus which can cause infertility. The people in UK and people in South Africa, people in Brazil, they were the first ones to receive all these kind of vaccines, and they have produced the children, and children are quite well and they are doing well to reduce the chances of infection. And there is nothing called, people have so much of confusion regarding infertility. My sincere request to all of you is, there is absolutely nothing in this virus that can either cause infertility or cause impotency, either in males or females. Please remove that thing in your mind if at all you have something in your mind. Number three, COVID vaccine can induce infection and turn COVID positive. People will come and say, sir, I took vaccine yesterday. I was absolutely all right. After I took vaccine, 2 days later, I went to the hospital and got my swab check and it came positive. And it is because of the vaccine only. If I had not taken vaccine, I would have not developed COVID. This is something like there is an incubation period for any disease. Okay, so you may be already having COVID-19 infection in your body and it took time to come out. Okay, it took time to express itself. And meanwhile, fortunately or unfortunately, you went and took the vaccine. And then you went and got your swab done, it came positive. Completely coincidental. None of the COVID-19 vaccines will induce infection because we are giving inactivated or dead virus, which will not be in a potency to cause the infection or the disease. Next. I will never develop COVID after receiving the vaccine. I think I was hearing a lot of conversations from the same platform. I took the vaccine and after 2 doses of vaccine, I stopped using my mask. I'm not using the sanitizer. No, even after COVID-19 vaccine, there is a chance that you may develop COVID, but the severity will be low. But even in spite of taking vaccine, follow all COVID appropriate behaviors like using the face mask, using the hand sanitizers, and also washing the hand frequently and avoiding the social gatherings. Next, I was previously infected with COVID and the vaccine is not required to me. Vaccine is required if you are not infected. I've already got infected with COVID, so vaccine may not be required for me. This is something again a myth. There are reports of second infection, third infection. So that is the reason if you are previously infected also, the immunity may last for 90 days. The natural immunity may last for 90 days. That is the reason. And later on, again, you become more prone for infection. So please get vaccinated, even in spite of having previous infection with COVID. I am currently COVID positive. This is another extreme of people who are having COVID positive disease, confirmed COVID positive 2-3 days back, and they come now. If I take COVID vaccine now, you are saying that if you take vaccine, the severity will come down. And I'm having the disease now. If I take the vaccine, will it reduce my severity? No. If you are having current COVID positive, don't take vaccine for 3 months after your complete recovery from the illness. Okay, so vaccine will not reduce any severity if you are currently COVID positive. It will help in boosting the immunity in future, but it will not currently give any kind of protection or relief at the time of vaccination. Sir, I'm suffering from BP. I have blood pressure, got hypertension, I have diabetes, I have a lot of problems. I have hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, 101 illnesses, chronic illnesses for which I'm taking the medications. If I take the vaccine, vaccines are harmful for me. No, you are the one who is at highest risk of developing COVID and COVID becoming more severe. So please take the vaccine, which is highly advisable to you. And everyone who receives vaccine develop adverse events. This is another problem. I will not take the vaccine. I was discussing with Malini ma'am when I came at morning, why people don't opt for vaccine in the university campus. And it is universal across the country. If I take vaccine, I develop fever. So I don't want to take the vaccine. Point is, it is not for everyone. It is around 60% of people who take the vaccine may develop these adverse events. And it is a sign of seroconversion. And you should not really bother. You just weigh your risk of COVID-19. If you develop COVID-19, what all things may happen? You develop breathlessness, you are admitted to the hospital, 101 pricks, and you will have fever, you will have cough, and you will have... So considering the amount of suffering with COVID, put tubes in all different orifices of the body, the suffering associated with the disease and suffering associated with vaccination, if you compare, it is not comparable. So better go and take the vaccine. So everyone who received the vaccine may not develop adverse events. Very few may develop, and if they develop, it is a sign of seroconversion. And if they do not develop, it doesn't mean that the vaccine is not acting on them. They are strong enough to tolerate the vaccine. And another important thing is large number of people develop clots following vaccination. People read a lot of story, reports across. True, Covishield is associated with development of clots, but it is very, very, very meager. It is 0.61 person may develop out of every 1 million vaccinated in India. Very, very meager and quite unfortunate, but it is not a major problem in India compared to the Western countries. If you look at Western countries, 6 or 7 out of million may develop the clots. To be thankful to the God that our race is so well designed that we do not have much of hematological problems, blood related, clot related problems. That is the reason we are naturally protected. So please, thank God and take the vaccine, because you are not at risk of developing COVID, clots associated. And this is another common problem we get. And very important thing also, people say, I don't want to take vaccine because I need to stay away from alcohol for some time. So people were hesitant to take vaccine because they cannot stop alcohol consumption. Please remember, currently there is no recommendation across anywhere that after COVID-19 vaccination you should not consume alcohol. It doesn't mean that you should consume alcohol and come for vaccination. Okay, so that should be absolutely avoided. So avoid for at least 1 or 2 days following a vaccination. So currently, do not prevent yourself from taking vaccine because you need to avoid alcoholism. There is no recommendation of that kind. Okay, a matter of relief. Okay, I have taken 1 dose of vaccine, that is enough. So a lot of people will say, sir, first dose. Now Shamsundar sir was also telling us just few minutes back, after first dose I had pain in the hand, so that's enough for me, I don't want to take my second dose. This is not correct. So we need to take both the doses of vaccine. And after we take 2 doses of vaccine, 14 days after the second vaccine, the immunity or the protection actually begins. That is the reason you should take both doses of vaccine. I have developed COVID after first dose, so I need not take the second dose because I already developed the antibodies. This is another myth. So even if you have developed COVID after first dose of vaccine, your immunity is not complete. Okay, so that is the reason you need to take second dose vaccine also after the desirable period of time which is allotted to you. And this is another common problem we are facing. First dose I took Covishield, sir. Now the Covaxin paper has got published. It says 80% efficacy. Can I go for Covaxin as a second dose or vice versa? So this is another problem. Both of them are COVID vaccines only, but both of their mechanism of action are different. So that is the reason do not go for having multiple COVID vaccines as first and second dose. Okay, so please complete. Some countries are trying the cocktail vaccines, which are mixed, but we need to just find out what is the evidence out of it. Whatever we do should be evidence based. Okay, so currently the evidence says that if you take first dose Covaxin, you should take second dose Covaxin only, so that the antibodies are going to develop. Okay, there is currently no evidence or a paper out saying that after you take first dose Covaxin, second dose Covishield, and it may protect you. So all these things, again, it is a myth. So please go for the same. People have so many reasons to say this. After I took Covishield, I had severe myalgia, and my cousin took Covaxin. She did not have anything. And so second dose, I will go for Covaxin. It is something like that market, where that particular shop, when I went, that person in the shop shouted at me, I want to go to the next shop. It is something like that. So please do not go for vaccine shopping. So avoid it. Go for only one vaccine, complete that particular course for a better protection. So what is the duration of protection following vaccination? How long the vaccine protection may last? So currently we do not have evidence for it, unfortunately. Once we get the evidence, definitely we are all going to share with you. But currently designed vaccines are going to give protection to the extent of 9 to 12 months following the vaccination. So as of now, that is the only WHO statement that is available. But most of the vaccines are, again, we are all growing with the vaccine. All the vaccines are in infancy stage. Okay, so if you look at Covishield, it is again 11-month old in the country for the trial purpose, not for the actual use purpose. If you take Covaxin, it is almost 9 to 10 months old. So we do not know what is going to be the long-term protection. But there are some trials going on in the Western countries about the booster dose. When do we need to get the booster dose, whether it's required for 6 months or 1 year. Covaxin has also approached DCGI to give one more booster after 6 months, and Covishield is expected to do the same. And we need to just check, keep watch on these things. What is the duration of protection? We do not have the cutoff for antibodies. This antibody level, if I have, I am completely protected for COVID-19. We do not have that particular cutoff also now. And also we do not have the data on what is the duration of protection offered by the vaccines. Let us wait for the data to come out. Few more questions that may be troubling you. Number one, which among these 3 vaccines are good? So now I'm showing 3. In after 2 months, there will be 6. Which among them is safe? So something, one point I want to make it clear. People were first of all hesitant to take the vaccine, and the vaccines are there. Now don't think about which is good, which is bad. Go and get vaccinated. All the vaccines have got similar and comparable safety and efficacy. So whichever you get first and whichever is feasible to you, go and get vaccinated. So that is the only thing. Now let us not compare the safety and efficacy of these vaccines, because though the trial data is out, the trials are conducted in more controlled environment. So that is the reason. Now go and get vaccinated. Ultimately, all these vaccines have got comparable safety and immunogenicity profiles. Please go and get vaccinated with any of the vaccines which are available.
So whether it is a 2 dose or single dose?
2 doses, ma'am. 2 doses, 3 weeks apart. There is one more Sputnik Light they have come out with. This is a vaccine that is initially they did trial in Russia, and they're saying single dose vaccine is sufficient, but we need to check whether the long-term antibodies, how long the antibodies are going to persist. But currently the evidence is Sputnik V, we have to take the 2 doses. And I took vaccine yesterday and I have fever and body ache. So do I need to home isolate myself or quarantine myself? Not required, because the reason of home quarantine or isolation is that you should not spread the infection to others. But the current evidence says that the adverse events, whatever you develop, they are merely because of vaccine. So not because of, you are not going to transfer the infection or transmit the infection to others. So no need to go for what we call as home isolation or quarantine. Does taking both Covishield and Covaxin double the immune response? So this is another question a lot of people will ask. No, because both of them have got different mechanisms of action. There is no guarantee that you are going to get double immune response. So please go ahead with one vaccine that you can take. And is the COVID-19 vaccine compulsory? There is no government direct documentation that all the vaccines are mandatory or compulsory. Currently, the government of India says it is voluntary. And in future, we don't know. Nobody can predict the future. In future, it may become compulsory, mandatory or compulsory. So the question is something like, is breathing mandatory? Is breathing compulsory? We have to breathe to survive. And if you really want to survive, take the vaccine. So breathe, taking COVID-19 vaccination may not be compulsory or mandatory. We have to take it because we need to get into the campus. It is at the level of campuses, at the level of organizations, institutions, it is made mandatory. But nationwide, it is not made as everyone should, like Aadhaar card, everyone should get vaccinated. But it is good that institutions are making it mandatory and compulsory to enter into the campus to prevent the infection to others. So over a period of time, it will become compulsory or mandatory. How many days following vaccination I develop immune response? As I already told, it is 2 months for, it is 14 days after taking the second dose of vaccine. Is there any vaccine currently available for children in India? Currently, we do not have any vaccine for children less than 18 years of age. Bharat Biotech's Covaxin is undergoing trial among children. And also Zydus Cadila vaccine, they have recruited children in their phase 2-3 only. And the trial recruitment is on, and we will wait for these vaccines to come out. But currently, we do not have any vaccine for children less than 18 years of age in India.
But the third wave is anticipated.
That is the reason everything is being fast-tracked. Okay. Even for children also, the recruitment, the progress, and the safety monitoring is being done. But anything that happens, it should all undergo those particular days of the trial. So those things cannot be fast tracked, but the recruitment can be done faster, and the process, administrative process, can be pushed faster. But the duration of observation, the duration of surveillance, monitoring, it has to happen according to the current requirement. That is the reason those processes cannot be fast tracked. So we will wait for, though the anticipation is there, we have to wait for the actual scientific evidence to come out. Then only the children can be vaccinated.
Yes, they are under threat.
They are under, yes, they are under threat. But the current vaccination trials that are going on, they are basically currently in phase 2, phase 3 recruitment phases. So once that part is completed, then we can definitely get some. We will soon get a vaccine for children. So that is the only hope we need to have. A lot of people take vaccine and ask while going, sir, they cooked chicken in my home. I took vaccine and everyone else will be eating. So can I eat it? Because I took vaccine. So there is no food restriction. So you can eat anything after you go out, which is edible and which can be eaten. So you can, there is no food restriction or diet restriction following vaccination. And next one, can I take vaccine during periods, during menstruation? This was another myth that was spread to a larger extent. And there is no evidence that the person should not get vaccinated during the menstruation. People can safely go ahead and take the vaccine even during periods. Any phase of their cycle, they can go and take the vaccine. There is absolutely no harm. And can a lactating mother take vaccine? She's feeding the baby. Can she take the vaccine? Definitely she can take the vaccine. So there a recent guideline from the government of India, recent means almost 2 months old. The guideline from government of India says the vaccination for the lactating women is absolutely safe. And currently the lactating mothers are also taking the vaccine. So how many days following vaccination I can donate blood? Because a lot of students in the campus will be more eager to donate the blood because NSS, NCC, they will be having these campaigns. So you can donate blood 14 days after this vaccination. Okay, after the vaccination, you can donate blood 14 days following the dose. How many days following vaccination I can plan my pregnancy? This was initially when the vaccine was not recommended to the pregnant women. So we used to tell that after the 2 doses of vaccine get over, so you should avoid pregnancy for 1 month. But current guidelines say that even pregnant women can also take the vaccination. I will touch upon this point in my future slides. I'm taking oral anticoagulants and antiplatelet drugs. Is it advisable to receive vaccine? Definitely you can go for vaccination. But while going to the vaccination, carry whatever medications you have with you to your concerned vaccination center, where the doctor is going to look into it and check whether you are really fit for taking the vaccine or not. And that determines whether you need to take vaccine or not. Just for the reason that you are taking some medications, please don't avoid going to the vaccination session. So this was another problem, whether before taking the vaccine, do I need to go for swab testing? Now, to some extent, this myth has gone down, but definitely there is no need to get the swab checked before or immediately after the vaccination. There is no need for it. And are there any oral or nasal vaccines for COVID? So some other countries are actually trying it. Phase 1 trial for Covaxin nasal vaccine has been approved by DCGI. I don't know what is the stage at which they are progressing in recruitment, or whether the recruitment really started. But currently, I don't think we have any idea about the recruitment going on. But there are some vaccines in other countries which are again in the phase of trial. Okay, so we have to see if the trials are successful, and they say that nasal vaccines will prevent infection also. Currently, we are talking about infection may not be preventable. Disease and its severity, death will be preventable. Okay, can be prevented with the vaccine. But nasal vaccines, because the route of entry of virus is a nose itself. So if the virus is blocked at the nose, a wonderful technology in designing the vaccine. So some vaccines are already in the process of development. Let us hope these nasal vaccines come out faster, so that we can have better prevention of COVID in future. So even after both doses of vaccine, I need to use mask and hand hygiene practices. Yes, you have to use it, because the vaccines may not prevent infection. Vaccines will prevent the serious severity of disease, hospitalization, and death.
But few countries, they started.
Few countries have started. They said that they have 100% vaccine coverage, and they have stopped it. But we need to really check how it is going to progress. But considering Indian context, the vaccination, we have, even after vaccination, we need to have all these components. And I was having one international call with my colleague few days back, and he was saying we are roaming arams, we do not wear mask. And we need not bother like you. Okay, fine, let us hope for the same day for India also. But currently in our situation, we have to follow all these COVID appropriate behaviors. So do vaccines protect against the mutant strains? And lot of discussions are taking place. The delta plus, lambda, gamma, all Roman numbers are becoming more more useful current days, becoming more popular. Okay, currently we have to really study the evidence, but currently available vaccines are expected to protect against the delta and delta plus. Okay, so we need to really generate some evidence associated with it. Instead of mugging up or by hearting alpha, beta, lambda, delta, take the vaccine. That is more important, and ultimately that is the one which is going to protect all of us. Let us see in future how the virus behaves.
If it is a spike protein, then even though there is variation,
it will actually not matter. It will actually, that is a reason most of the people have targeted the spike proteins. One thing I want, thanks for bringing this point. As a spike is a vital organ or vital structure of the virus, if there is any mutation in the spike protein, virus becomes less effective, less virulent. And if there is any other part of the virus which has got mutation, the virus will be effective against it. So this is the common sense. So this is the base on which most of the vaccines are developed. Thanks for bringing it. And do I need to stop any medications before vaccination? Currently, no need to stop any medications. You can keep continuing your medications and go to the vaccination, take the vaccine, and take the advice from the doctor that I'm taking these medications. Currently, there is no regulation or a guideline saying that this particular medication should be stopped before the vaccination. So if I develop fever following fever and body ache following vaccination, what medication I need to take? The best medication is a paracetamol tablet. Go for Dolo 650 and any Crocin, Dolo 650, whatever is available at your home with a paracetamol content. So you can go for either Dolo 650 or Dolo 500 based on your requirement, and you can take these medications. I think that is more than enough for preventing the occurrence of disease. This is again preventing a disease, again evidence based. So if you look at the studies in UK, after following Oxford AstraZeneca, they gave paracetamol to one group of people and they did not give paracetamol to other group of people. And when they compared the adverse events, the people who took paracetamol every 6th hourly following the vaccination, they did not suffer from much of the adverse events. Again, it is a evidence-based. Again, it is a trial-based recommendation. You can go for paracetamol a tablet if you develop adverse events. There is no need to take it prophylactically as per the current recommendations. So this is another thing people will say. After I take vaccine, after 35 years, I may develop neurological problems. We do not know. But current evidence says that this incidence may be very, very, very meager or may not be there. Who knows what is going to happen after 35 years or 40 years? So there is no current link of neurological problems associated with vaccine. Yes, if you already are suffering from neurological diseases, like you are suffering from Parkinson's disease, or you may be suffering from Alzheimer's, or you may be suffering from multiple sclerosis, or if you are suffering from any motor neuron diseases, please consult your doctor before you go for vaccination, because these are all virus based vaccines which may have some consequences if you are suffering from any neurological problems including epilepsy. Okay, so please consult doctor before taking these vaccines. So another thing people will commonly ask, vaccine is given in government hospital also, private hospital also. Private vaccines are better than government because government is free. So no, both vaccines are same. All have born out of same lab. So some are in government, some are in private. So all vaccines are same. Even in government also, they maintain very good temperature, cold chain. So there is absolutely no difference in vaccines given in government and private. People think taking private vaccines in private hospital is a matter of prestige. If you are affordable, please go ahead, and please do not discourage people taking vaccine in the government hospitals, because it is absolutely same. There is no difference at all. And last point I want to talk and end my presentation, maybe in another 3 or 4 minutes, pregnancy and COVID-19 vaccination. Another very important matter of debate in current situation. Can pregnant women take COVID-19 vaccination? The current guideline from Government of India says, yes, even pregnant women can also take COVID-19 vaccine. The reason is pregnancy itself may not be the factor that increases the chances of development of COVID or a risk factor for developing COVID. The risk of developing COVID among pregnant women and non-pregnant women are same. But once a disease occurs, the severity of disease is considered to be more among pregnant women compared to their non-pregnant counterparts. That is the reason pregnant women can opt for COVID-19 vaccination in any phase of their pregnancy. And there is no current evidence says that it can either harm pregnant women or the fetus or the child. So there is no evidence pregnant women who are more at risk, for example, healthcare workers, they'll be working in COVID wards all the time, and pregnant women having heart diseases, they are more at risk of developing COVID and its consequences, and pregnant women who are on some kind of a therapy for long term, so they can definitely go for COVID-19 vaccination. And any pregnant women for that matter, they can safely take 2 doses of pregnancy and undergo the pregnancy period without having any confusion or any problem related to that. Okay. This is one more point I wanted to tell. I told about these things in bits and pieces somewhere. This is one collective point which may definitely help you in handling vaccination program at the campus. If the person is confirmed to have COVID-19 and suffered from COVID-19 disease, symptomatic or asymptomatic, after his clinical recovery, the vaccine should be given 3 months after the complete recovery from the illness. Okay. And if the person is infected with COVID-19, first dose I have taken, and between first and second dose, if I develop COVID, you should take vaccine 3 months after the recovery. Okay, so it may cross your window period of 85 days or 90 days or whatever, but as I told, after you develop infection, the natural antibodies will persist for 90 days. Okay, so you can utilize that particular part of the immune system, and you need to go for second dose of vaccination 3 months after the recovery. In case of any non-COVID illness which required hospitalization, okay, so maybe rise in blood pressure or uncontrolled diabetes, for which if the person is admitted into the hospital, after the discharge, the vaccine can be given 4 to 8 weeks later. Okay. And finally, as I told, vaccination is recommended to all pregnant women, all pregnant and lactating women in current situation. To repeat, if you have COVID, if you are confirmed COVID-19 infection, after you are recovered from illness, take vaccine 3 months later. If you are a freshly vaccinated, if you are freshly going to get vaccine, you have taken first dose of vaccine and before second dose you developed COVID, wait for 3 months after your clinical recovery, even though it would have crossed 85 days or 6 weeks, then take the second dose of vaccine. Number three, if you have any non-COVID illness requiring hospitalization, like any other reason for which you have got admitted to the hospital, after your discharge, wait for 4 weeks or 8 weeks and take the vaccine. To conclude, all the available vaccines against COVID-19 are safe. Go ahead for vaccination. Number two, efficacy ranges from 72 to 91%. I told what determines efficacy. Currently, the antibody titers that determine the efficacy. 72% efficacy means out of 100 individuals who are vaccinated, 72 showed demonstrable antibody titers in their blood. Okay, so it ranges from 72 to 91%. And vaccines may not prevent occurrence of disease, but have definite role in preventing severity of the disease and mortality associated with disease. All emergency use authorizations are given on time by the regulatory bodies like DCGI by only after analyzing the evidence. Nothing has been done without analyzing the evidence. Very, very meticulously, all the evidences from different phases of the trials have been analyzed very, very thoroughly. Only after completely getting convinced the vaccines are safe and efficacious, vaccines have been given authorization. Don't think that anywhere, any corner, any point of time, any quality is compromised. Utmost quality has been followed. Utmost care has been taken before giving emergency use authorization for all these vaccines. We are yet to arrive at the definitive reference values, which is a cutoff for antibody levels for preventing the infection. A lot of people call us and ask, sir, I got my antibody titer tested and it is coming 200. Does it mean that I am completely protected against COVID? And we do not have any reference values for that. And these reference values change with every kit. And there are some people who may not see, whose blood samples may show antibody titer negative. It doesn't mean that vaccine has not acted on them. It means that the antibody kit you have used may not be able to detect that particular antibody against which the virus has developed, against which the vaccines have developed the antibodies. Okay, and vaccine for all is the only strategy to prevent further waves of COVID. So please take the vaccine and be safe. And even after taking the vaccine, these are 6 points that I will tell everywhere when I talk about vaccine. Please wear the mask. We are not wearing because we are sitting social distancing and with following the social norms. And second thing is that it doesn't mean that you should not wear. All of you should wear the mask and wear the mask properly. Okay, putting the nose out and wearing the mask doesn't make any use. Maintain the social distance of 2 meters. Wash hands frequently and use a hand sanitizers whenever you are coughing and sneezing. Follow the cough etiquette. That is, either you can use your elbow or you can use a handkerchief or the napkin so that the air, your droplets will not spread into the surrounding environment. And if you have symptoms, please isolate yourself until you get your PCR report. If it is negative, then mingle with the people in your home. Otherwise, if it is positive, isolate yourself at home. And finally, please, please, please get vaccinated. And telling please, please, please will not earn anything additional to me. It is only the reason we are all working in this area. So don't think that I'm overemphasizing or influencing or I'm forcing people to take the vaccine. It is all because we are all concerned with the health of everyone. Being the preventive medicine person, my job is to protect the community and protect the society. This is all the reason I'm requesting all of you, and rather all of us requesting all of you to get vaccinated. So the vaccine, as I showed in the upper umbrella, so this is the one which protects us from all components of COVID-19 disease. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, sir, for the highly informative talk. And you have solved almost all the myths, and you have given the facts about the vaccination. And now it is time to interact with the expert. Any clarification questions, please? This talk is organized for you people, because probably this month, the 19th onwards, we'll be having offline classes. You people have to come to the campus, and your parents may be worried after sending my ward. Then if they develop some COVID, then what's the thing? So let them interact. Even they can talk in Kannada, no problem. So if any questions, please interact, because later on, if you ask me, I'm not the expert to answer all these questions, because first wave only, when I was a chairperson, I used to get a lot of queries from the parents, and I was unable to answer the things. I can't guarantee that, oh, you have to do this, that, because I'm not expert. So here, there's an opportunity for you to interact. Thereby, you can get all your doubts clarified, and come to the department, come to the campus with a vaccination, and then we'll be having our once again academic feast.
Yes, thank you, sure. Thank you.
So there are a few questions
Sure.
to forward.
Yes.
One is from Yoga Lakshmi, that by mistake, if we have taken COVID shield and co-vaccine in that, then what we should do?
Yeah, so currently the vaccination drive in India is channelized through CoWIN portal. Okay, and in CoWIN is a portal where you need to register yourself, and you need to take the vaccine. The moment you take first dose Covishield, it will register itself as Covishield. And second dose, if you opt for Covaxin also, you will not get it. You will get Covishield only. And if by any chance, if you take second dose Covaxin and first dose Covishield, do not worry for it, but it will not give you the protection. Whatever you have taken the first dose, the same dose has to be taken second. And if your second dose is Covaxin, then you need to freshly complete your vaccination course.
Again, they have to.
Yes, after 6 weeks, they have to either take the Covaxin to complete their immune status, or they should wait for 85 days from the first Covishield dose, then they should take the second dose Covishield.
No problem, they can go for
Yes. But 99.99999%, this problem will not rise, because whenever you enter into the vaccination sessions in the hospitals, there'll be one separate section for Covaxin, one separate section for Covishield. So the two different staff nurses will be handling it. So there is nothing like this syringe was Covaxin, this was Covishield, I took this instead of this and vaccinated. So that will not happen. If at all that happens, the solution is this.
So this is from Bhima Shankar. It's like why it is mutating.
The virus mutates. It is its habit. It is as if, why do I change my dress every day?
Yeah.
So it is, if you allow virus to multiply, the moment the virus multiplies, is something called antigenic shift and drift. So as the virus multiplies, it undergoes changes in itself. It is ultimately the survival of it. The virus also should survive. If you vaccinate 100% of people, virus should also find some way to survive. So the virus, it is a genetic theory. So because the virus has to survive, it will undergo mutation. And if you allow virus to multiply, there is going to be mutation. So I'll ask you one question. When we had a first wave, the transmission was slow, and that is the reason we did not have much mutations. And second wave was not a wave, it was a tsunami.
Yes.
And you allowed virus to multiply in such an enormous manner. We have provided scope for vaccine to mutate. And it is a rule for everyone, adaptation to the change. It will mutate.
Even treatment strategy is also different.
Yes.
From first to second wave.
Second wave, the treatment was more confident. The doctors were more confident. And one more thing I want to tell you, if the vaccines were not out in January and the second wave occurred in March, April, you just imagine what would have been the situation of healthcare workers in India.
Yes. Exactly.
The healthcare workforce, which is the frontline warriors, if they would have suffered from severe COVID disease, then who would have taken care of people? Thank God that, we got vaccine early in January, and the government took its step to vaccinate all the people and healthcare workers initially, and we had some workforce to take care of.
Mortality rate is also reduced.
Has also reduced to a very significant level.
First wave.
Yes.
In first wave, we lost many medical
fraternity. That is second dose. Second wave, we did not, because most of them were protected.
Next question is like, we are getting vaccinated, whether it will be useful for the next mutant variants which is coming.
Yeah, I think I have addressed that particular point. Most of the vaccines are considered to be protective against mutant strains, but we need to check over a period of time what is going to happen. But currently available evidence is that vaccines protect also against the mutant strains.
Sir, I have a question. Now students will be coming to the campus. So they have taken first dose.
Yes, yes.
They have not completed 84 days.
Yes.
So they'll be coming with the first dose of vaccination.
Yes.
So after coming over here, it is very difficult to make all this social distance.
Correct.
Masks and sanitizer they use.
Yes.
But once they see their
friends,
they'll
hug.
You can't stop them.
Correct.
Children and students, so you just can't stop them. If they develop positive, then you just how to deal with the things.
Ma'am, we should.
In hostel.
Yeah, I think we should be a bit very strict these days to avoid those non-COVID appropriate behaviors. We have to tell them that this is the amount of seriousness with which they have to be here, because this is a huge campus and we need to really maintain some sort of regulation so that the COVID appropriate behaviors are followed. And unfortunately, if somebody develops COVID, they have to immediately inform if they have any symptoms, and they need to be quarantined. They need to be very strictly quarantined and have a very good contact tracing mechanism with whom they all came in contact, and then test them for COVID. If they are positive, go for a quarantine center. So you can establish one section of your hostel or something as the quarantine center, where if the positives come, they have to be put there, and the contacts are very strictly seen and managed.
But they need not worry much like first wave.
Yes, they should. I'll tell you one thing. This was a question Madam also asked me at the beginning. So 85 days gap between the first dose and second dose. So it has two different reasons. Number one, the reason which all of you are thinking of, to balance demand supply gap. But that is not the only reason. When they wanted to come to that particular decision, they have definitely gone through the evidence. What is the duration of antibody levels following first dose of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine? And initially, I'll tell you, you told untold COVID ChAdOx vaccine, what we call Oxford AstraZeneca, was started as a single dose vaccine trial in UK. There was no question. They did not think of second dose vaccine. They recruited participants in the trial considering that they will do a single dose vaccine trial. And when over a period of time, they came to know that with 85 days or 86 days gap, the antibodies started waning off. And then they took one cohort of people and they vaccinated second dose. Yes. And it had a prime boost effect. If you read the papers of early phase 1, phase 2 of ChAdOx vaccine, the antibody duration is expected up to around 85 days. And after that, the waning starts. And the government of India took that particular point from the papers, and they advocated, okay, first dose has antibody response till 85 days. This is a maximum stretchable limit. And after that, we will introduce a second dose so that there is going to be prime boost effect. That is a boost effect after the primary dose of vaccination. And that is the reason I think you should not worry, even if they have taken first dose vaccine and they are within that 85 days gap. But as soon as they finish their 85th day, vaccinate them. This is more important thing that we need to follow as our administrative.
Is there any kind of time period, like 85 days means how long we can extend if due to some situation we are not able to
chance if there is any scarcity of how many days we can?
Around 18 weeks, they say. So usually the second dose, even now people are saying even after 6 months, if you take second dose, there is going to be a immune response. Even up to 6 months also, we can advise them to take the vaccine. So always the second dose will give you the booster effect. First dose is a sensitization. Immune system will get sensitized in the first dose, and second dose will be the a boosting effect. So I think the current evidence says that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, even if it is taken 6 months after the first dose also, there is adequate immune response.
But they need not worry. A few days if it
Yes.
is not available, and then if they go for, they need not be scared.
They need not be scared. But the point is, we should ensure that they get vaccinated.
Yes.
Sir, there is one question. Chaitrika is, can our blood type affect how susceptible?
Yeah, I was reading that particular question there. There are some studies say that even a blood group is susceptible to that, but it doesn't mean that the vaccine will be having different effect in different blood type people. So it is same across different people. So we should definitely not worry about it. There are some studies which are published on what type of blood blood has more susceptibility. It is only related to the virus. It is not related to the vaccine. Vaccine produces same kind of immune response across different blood groups.
This one question from Dr. Sakuntala ma'am. Sir, why don't we get fever in the second dose?
Your body, I'll tell you. So when the first time when something is introduced into the body will act faster. Okay, so and it gets adapted to it. And when you give the same thing second time, so the body already is aware of it, and the reaction will not be very fast. Okay, so it is something like you watch the horror movie for the first time, you get so scared, and after you watch horror movie second time, you are not that scared. It is as simple as that. I think I used a very wired example, but I think that makes things more clearer. So usually the first dose, when you are introducing the virus or a spike particle or any constituent of a vaccine in our body, so there is going to be a more reaction, and second dose onwards there is some adaptation. And doesn't mean that you develop reaction only the first dose. People who did not develop anything in the first dose, they develop adverse event in the second dose. It is all at the time at which the seroconversion occurs in our body. Okay, so at seroconversion means that the point at which antibody response starts. Okay, that determines occurrence of adverse events.
Sir, I have a doubt. Because you have recruited many doctors in your clinical trials, and you have given the first and second dose. And after that, they have released the vaccine. No?
Yes.
Whether they have again they took the vaccines or how?
But frankly speaking, I cannot reveal that here, ma'am.
Okay.
The point is, as I told, like any other person, even if they take the vaccine, there is a chance of developing the infection, and doctors being more conscious people, and we actually do not get any additional information from them.
Mm-hmm.
So currently speaking, I do not have answer for your question.
Okay.
Sir, one question from Ikram. It's like, sir, do you think that this vaccine which are used in various countries would protect us from COVID? And is there any hope that this COVID will permanently disappear?
I think I gave whole of my presentation was the protection. So vaccines definitely protect us from the disease, its severity and death. And second thing is that if you ask me whether the COVID is going to be a permanent disease or it is going to disappear, there is no matter. I don't think COVID is going to disappear very soon. It will take its time. Okay, so until there is something called as a concept of herd immunity. So herd immunity is nothing but almost 75% of our people should be protected against. It should have some immunity or antibodies. Then the rest of 25% of people are protected against it. Until we develop this herd immunity, it is difficult to say whether the virus will completely disappear. Okay.
Sir,
so
first wave itself, they were telling India got herd immunity.
No, it's all misconception. Again, a myth. We cannot say that we have developed herd immunity. For if you want to develop herd immunity, 75% of our population should get the disease or infection. So infection and disease are different. Infection is only entry and multiplication of organism in the body, and disease is development of signs and symptoms. So at least 75 to 80% of our population should get infected. So I don't think 75% of our population is infected to get the herd immunity. So again, people, these are all statements, no, nothing based on evidence.
Community medicine. Yes. Whether you anticipated the second wave like this?
Second wave was anticipated, ma'am. Second wave was definitely anticipated, and the reports were given to the government and all. So it was not anticipated in this quantity. The anticipation was there. The second wave anticipation was definitely there. Predictions were there. They were communicated at different platforms, but the magnitude with which the second wave, I told it was not a wave, it was a tsunami. So that kind of magnitude, I think, was not very much anticipated, but definitely there was anticipation.
In first wave.
Yes.
And what we thought we developed herd immunity.
Yeah. That was a reason. Lot of people became more relaxed, yes. And that was a reason the lot of gatherings, and that has ended up. Now we should not have the same kind of feature after suffering from so much in the second wave. I think we should not follow the same things which we did in the first wave, so that we will prevent the third wave in future.
Sir, I have another clarification. Yes. First wave, there was a ventilator, was the main requirement.
Yes, yes.
Second wave, there is oxygen, and no, every time it's changing.
It's changing, definitely. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am.
How you can anticipate what will be required for the third wave?
Third wave, we need to require what was required in first wave plus what was required in second wave and something extra, so that keep everything ready for the third wave. So some things will become very accidental or incidental. So there was a drug called remdesivir, so which was we had not heard of it in early part of the first wave, and second wave, that was a limiting factor. So we don't know how the things, but one good thing I want to tell you, lot of clinical trials are taking place, not only on vaccines, but on therapeutics, like medicines. So mild, moderate, some antivirals are coming, moderate, severe, some antivirals are coming, some new drugs are being invented. I think by third wave, we will have ample of medications in our hand so that the things can be managed. Okay. So if you ask me what is additionally required in third wave, we need to require more medicines, so that, and more hospital wards, beds, and if someone, medical healthcare personnel who are vaccinated, fully protected, and ready to come for the taking responsibilities.
So what do we need for the campus?
You should protect your students from COVID-19, and more importantly, have more signboards on the COVID appropriate behavior, emphasize it, because the younger generation are more at, they take the things very lightly and very casual, and we need to re-emphasize on need of following COVID appropriate behavior. Tell them, if you do not want any more online classes, follow all these things.
The thing is, in the classes, there will be social distancing. Once they come out from the class,
that's what it all needs behavior change communication, ma'am. So we need to change the behavior. It is difficult to change the behavior of people, but there is something called as, we need to give them the seriousness of the nature of the problem. So I think it's difficult. Everyone will face this problem. Even we all, sir is a very senior academician, and we also deal with the student. And the only reason between your students and our students are, your students do unknowingly, our students do knowingly. So that is a basic difference. But we need to somewhere tackle this issue, change their behavior, give them more seriousness. This happens, nothing regulatory. So we need to tell them this is basically to protect your lives, and we are all there to support you. And more importantly, have some experts with you, so that if they develop any of these symptoms, they can be easily contacted. Have some dedicated area for the quarantine and isolation, and advocate vaccination in your campus, so that I think we should be.
But what's your message to parents, sir? Because no, they are really scared to send the word. They'll be thinking your life is more important than your studies.
Being a parent, even I also, even we also second your opinions, your expression, your whatever you think of. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to give what we are supposed to give. Okay, so education is very important, and nobody would have called the students back if the situation in July is same as situation in April, May. The wave is coming down, and you are seeing every day the picture of every day the numbers are coming down, and none of these numbers are manufactured, or none of these numbers are manipulated. They're all, the moment you go and get, the moment the stick enters into your throat, your number is registered there. Okay, so not like any other country or not any other province. So numbers are not hidden. Everything is plain, crystal clear, available in the public domain. So that is a reason, look at it, the waves are coming down, and the academics is also important. And we the campus, if the campus, if the administration gives administration is also ready enough to take this challenge forward. And more important thing is, tell your children when before they come to the campus to maintain all COVID appropriate behaviors, and once they come here, and follow the instructions of your teachers more carefully, so that they will not get the moment, if there is any risk, definitely your children will be sent back to your home without waiting for a minute. That you might have seen in the first wave and second wave. We did not keep the students with us. We straight away gave them an option, you can go and stay with your parents. So if any such kind of anticipation, definitely children will be sent back. But as of now, considering the wave coming down and importance of their academics, I think it is better to send back children. And before sending back, please take 1 hour class to your children, tell them what all appropriate behaviors they need to follow, and send them.
Even the teachers can probably take it seriously, saying that if the whole campus has to be healthy, your children have to be healthy. So anywhere the students are formed in groups,
Yes,
the teacher passing by has to identify them and warn them.
identify.
In the beginning, little strictness, I think.
And few things like wearing mask every time. You can have some security people at the in a hostel. The moment they come out of the hostel, they will usually be checked for whether they are wearing mask, wearing it properly or not. Maybe you can hand it over to the students itself. You can make some peer group leaders and all, and they can be given the responsibility of this. Like we have the CRs, class representatives. You can make one COVID representative or an ombudsman kind of a thing, whistleblower, so they can always keep a check on it. So that person will be a bit unpopular among students, but definitely they are going to have more popularity in future.
And from the day one, if this is done, I think things will be right.
Well, this answer has been given, but I will read the question. Vijay Lakshmi said, if first dose provide us sufficient immunity, because once offline class are resumed, we need to stay in hostel and we need to travel from different state back.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to you. The first dose will not produce adequate immunity. First dose will produce antibodies. The complete immunity will be only after second dose and 14 days after that. Okay, so when you're traveling, please maintain proper COVID appropriate behavior, wear mask and use a social distancing, wear gloves and all. You come here, and once you are here also, you need to follow all these COVID appropriate behaviors. So there is, I think we need to take some calculated risk at that point, at this point in time. And as you are already vaccinated, I think it should not be a major problem.
And one of the question is from Rejwana, that vaccine give protection for long. For some of the researcher, it was found that antibody has decreased after 3 to 4 months of COVID vaccination.
So we are yet to have a proper evidence for this. How was the antibody tested? Who tested the antibodies? What were the kits used for testing those antibodies? Okay, so we need to really check all these things before giving the answer. So by and large, the antibodies are expected to remain for at least, sometimes antibodies disappear from the blood. So it is all cell-mediated immunity that is going to act. Okay, the cell-mediated immunity acts on the principle of memory. You are introducing a particular agent in our body, and there will be momentary antibodies in the blood, but the immune response remembers that particular agent. And whenever that agent comes back, then the cell-mediated immunity is going to generate the antibodies. So antibodies may not be detectable in the blood all the time. So they will become detectable only when there is a need arises. Okay, it is something like that. So I request you to read the statement that is released by CDC Atlanta on antibody levels following the vaccination. They give very clear picture. Don't rely on the antibodies in the blood following the vaccination. So it is all dependent on which particular protein against which the antibodies are developed, which kit detects it, and the major role of cell-mediated immunity. If you really want to get tested, there is interferon gamma and there is interleukins, that all those things you need to really check whether the cell-mediated immunity is active or not. Two things, one is TNF alpha, that is tumor necrosis factor alpha, and interferon gamma. These are the two important components of cell-mediated immunity, which are going to give protection against the virus. So not, no need to really give so much of push to the antibody titers that you detect.
One question is like, person who is having kidney stone can take vaccination or not?
Kidney stone is not a contraindication to take the vaccine. Okay, so definitely consult your physician, go for the vaccination. Doesn't mean when they want to remove your kidney stone, definitely they will ask for your vaccination certificate. So go and get vaccinated. That is really required.
And even if they have a blood problem, blood level less and not in normal level, or any bacterial fever, they are able to take vaccination.
Bacteria, any acute illness. It could be fever, body ache, headache, or any pus or any injury is a temporary contraindication to take the vaccine. Usually when a person comes for vaccination, the physicians or the people, the staff in the vaccination center will be checking for all these things, whether there is any acute illness on the day of vaccination. Any acute illness is a temporary contraindication. After that bacterial infection, it could be urinary tract infection, it could be fever, cough, flu, anything. So when you have those complaints, do not go for vaccination. Okay, it is a temporary contraindication. When you are completely out of that particular thing, go and get the vaccination. Okay, so yeah.
One more question. The pregnant or pre-pregnant woman is vaccinated. Does it have any immunity to the?
No, sir. No. As of now, there is no study related to that. So if they are expecting, it will not cross the blood placental barrier, so may not protect the baby. So it will protect mother. That is sure.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, my question is, from the starting of the session, we are just talking about boosting about the immune system.
Yes.
Via vaccination. Please do rectify me if I am wrong. Many of the deaths in this COVID situation is due to the cytokine storm and acute respiratory distress syndrome, where we are thinking about reducing the immune response because there is a hyperimmune response. And with the help of the steroids, we are reducing the immunity. And here we are only talking about boosting the immunity in the vaccination. So I'm not getting up there.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So cytokine storm is basically the storm against the virus, okay, which is entering into the body. And to prevent that particular thing, we reduce the immunity and we give the steroids. The vaccine related antibody response will not be a storm. It will be a sustained rise in the antibody titers. And this is a protective antibody titer. Okay, so that is the reason, please do not get confused with the cytokine storm that occurs because of infection with the immune response that occurs due to the vaccination. Both are absolutely different. So immunity, whatever immune response that occurs due to the virus is not same as the immune response that occurs through the vaccination. So there are different type of cells. We have something called T helper cells. We have Th1 type of cells, Th2 type of cells. Basically the vaccine target Th1 type of cells, where there is going to be increase in the level of interferon gamma, and also there is going to be TNF alpha. These are the two important components that are going to rise. They rise not in a level of creating storm. There will be sustained rise in these antibody levels so that the body will get sensitized and it will get protected. And unless in case of infection, there is going to be serious rise in these levels, leading to the acute respiratory distress and leading to the consequences associated with that. Thank you.
Sir, and other thing is like we are using this. The infection is like the receptor binding domain of the virus binds to the ACE2 receptors.
Yes.
And
yes.
then the infection is going on. That is, we know everything. But in case like what happens here is we are using vaccines. These vaccines take the place of the ACE2 receptors. Am I right, sir? Means they neutralize the virus by binding into the receptors.
They bind to receptor binding domain. They bind to the receptor RBD, what we call as. Yes.
And after binding,
They diffuse the virus. They diffuse the spike protein of the virus once they bind there. Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
After this, in the research in 2014 says that the antibody against the SARS-CoV virus spike protein strengthen the infection towards the monocytes and lymphocytes. This is like the defense system of our country is in the hands of terrorists.
I don't want to. Yeah.
Example.
I think it is better. I don't want to answer the terrorist part of the question, but the point is any receptor binding, the mechanism of action is very simple. The spike-like protein, the receptor binding domain of the spike-like protein will be targeted in case of vaccine by the vaccine, so that the diffusion, the spike-like protein is diffused and the virus cannot enter into the cell. Okay, so I think this much, if we are able to grasp and go ahead, I think that should be better rather than too much going into the cellular level mechanisms. I think this is what I want to tell you. Maybe I would have not convinced you completely, but I think this is the explanation currently I have with you.
Thank you, sir.
So we come to the end of this session almost. If there are no questions from our participants, so we can wind up the session with vote of thanks. I request Dr. Vidisha to.
Thank you, ma'am. So I will use this opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. Firstly, we have witnessed a very nice, informative topic that is like COVID-19 vaccine drive and related to the myth and the facts. And this program has been graced by our special guest, Dr. Praveen Kulkarni, who is an Associate Professor of Department of Community Medicine and Public Health, JSS Medical College, Mysore. So, sir, you have just given very clear information to every one of us, because there are lots of questions which is in their mind before they come down to our campus. So I hope they have got a very nice information, and they have cleared their views regarding this kind of myths. And so thank you so much, sir, for providing such information. And I would like this opportunity also to thank Dr. Shamsundar, Professor of Anatomy, JSS Medical College, being with us and joining this session. Thank you, sir. And our sincere thank will goes to our Honorable Vice Chancellor of Department of University of Mysore, Professor Hemant Kumar, for providing us all the facilities and organizing such kind of event in our campus. And our special thanks to our Professor Suthuras Malini, who is also our chairperson of genetics and genomics, as well as Department of Zoology, for always coming out with a topic like this, which is really needed for our student right now and very important topic. So hope this is going to give a very insight knowledge to them. Thank you so much, ma'am. And as well as I would like to thank all the participants who are present there, and because of this, whom this live session has become meaningful. So thank you all the participants for being with us, even the research scholar and the students, and all our faculties also for joining us. Thank you so much. I would like this opportunity, last but not the least, all the IE member facilities and the organization committee who are making it successful and make it lively. And thank you all for joining with us. Have a nice day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda.
Thank you so much.